What's up, guys? Bailey here. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my predictions for UFC 327. It's right around the corner. It's going to be here pretty soon, as we got Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg for the light heavyweight strap in the main event. I'm not going to waste your guys' time. Let's get straight into these predictions. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's just go. All right, so starting off here, we got Vicente Luque versus Kelvin Gastelum. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase. I don't really think I can pick Kelvin Gastelum in this stage of his career to fight and really pull it off. You know, even though he did win in his last fight at UFC Noche against Dustin Stoltzfus, I feel like that shit's free. I'm not even going to lie to you. No offense to Dustin. And then you got Vicente Luque, where he's currently on a 2-fight skid. He's on a losing streak. I think he has a little more power than Kelvin Gastelum. I think he has a bit more. I think it's going to be a case of you got every advantage in the book, and it's your fight to lose. Kelvin Gastelum, in my opinion, just has not been looking that great. I mean, he's obviously not in his prime anymore, and that plays a huge factor into it. But he misses weight all the time. You know, he's washed. He doesn't really throw anything particular out there at the table, or in terms of like, you are great at this one thing. He's not really great at anything. He's just good at certain things. And that's not me being like a dick. That's just kind of a fact of the matter. Same for Vicente Luque. So with those things being said, I really got to go with Vicente Luque. Both guys are still a little, I think they're kind of washed at this point. They're both not in their prime. And yeah, I think Vicente Luque is going to win. I really think it's his fight to lose. He's the taller guy. He's the rangier guy. He knows he has a little more power. He's got a little bit more better striking. So I'm going to go with Vicente Luque on this one, just based off those parameters alone. But yeah. Next, we got Tatiana Suarez versus Lupita Godinez. I kind of see this as like a #1 contender fight, just in my personal opinion, especially if Tatiana Suarez wins this fight. You know, Tatiana Suarez, she's only 12-1, and her loss is to Zhang Weili. So that's pretty fucking good. Lupita Godinez, on the other hand, she's 14-5, and I'm just going to break her down real quick. Like, her jiu-jitsu, it's decent. It's decent enough to where there's a threat there, where there's something where you're like, okay, respect her in that field. But she can't strike. She's a decision merchant. She's really fucking boring. And I just feel like that, let's just say she does beat Tatiana somehow, she's going to get torched by Dern or Zhang Weili. And I feel like that's just the reality. Where Tatiana Suarez, she's a better wrestler. She's a better striker. She's better just overall. Just overall. She's taller. She's a bit more rangy, right? Tatiana's coming in at 5'5". Lupita's coming in at 5'2", okay? And even though they're the same weight on fight night, I think it's going to look completely different. I think Tatiana's really going to fill out nicely for herself, and that's why I got her winning. She just can't sell this fight. You know, it's really her fight to lose and to win. And I feel like Lupita Godinez, while she is a good threat on the ground, I just don't feel like it's good enough. I don't feel like it's enough. And on the feet, I feel like is where the gap is going to lie the most. And I feel like that's where the winning and the losing is going to come down to, especially for Tatiana Suarez. So I got to go with her on this one. Next, we got Mateusz Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovics. Esteban Ribovics, he's been looking pretty good, you know. Yeah, Esteban Ribovics, he's been looking pretty good, right? He beat Elvis Brenner, right, to come back from his loss against Nazar at Haqparast. Mateusz Gamrot coming back from his fight against Charles Oliveira, where he lost in a submission round 3 rear naked choke. Let's break this down, right? So Mateusz Gamrot, he's been in top 10 lightweights for a decent time now, okay? He's been a gatekeeper and somewhat, I don't want to say contender, but definitely in the gatekeeper territory for a while, okay? And we got to respect that. The lightweight division, in my opinion, I think is the hardest division in the UFC, just strictly based off of the talent, the skill, the diversity, all of it. There's a lot of people at 155 that just bring completely different things each and every time you fight him. And he has good wrestling. He has great wrestling, as a matter of fact. I mean, his fights against like him and Dariush are a prime example. You know, even though Dariush got the better of it and beat him, Gamrot was hanging in there nice. I mean, same for Armin and Gamrot. You know what I mean? I mean, like, Gamrot's wrestling is very underrated, and Esteban Ribovics has to respect that, especially because there will be a gap in the grappling, right? And what I mean by that is just that Esteban Ribovics is, you know, we all know that his scrambles aren't going to be as good, so his takedown defense is going to have to really hold up. But same for, Gamrot and his chin and his striking. There will be a gap in there as well. Because Esteban Ribovics, especially when you saw in his fight against Daniel Zahuber, his volume and his combinations are fucking nasty, okay? He really knows how to put in that work. And I'm not going to lie, I won't be too surprised if Gamrot is able to pull a win out of his ass and somehow beat him. But since there's just no new guys making their way at 155, and I really love Esteban Ribovics, I want him to win. So I'm going to pick him to win, just simply based off the fact that he's a little younger, where he's 15-2. He's got cleaner striking, cleaner volumes, cleaner combinations, and they hurt, dude. He doesn't just have like pillow hands, you know what I'm saying? I mean, those hands, he's got hands. So, yeah, I got to go with Esteban Ribovics here. Next, we got Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. Kevin Holland, right? He's on a 2-fight skid right now. Lost to D-Rod, lost to Mike Malott, but he is more experienced than Randy Brown when it comes to fighting either championship caliber talent or ranked talent. And Kevin Holland himself has been ranked. And, you know, I think that he's the more complete package when it comes to mixing in the grappling and the striking with Randy Brown. Where Randy Brown, his last fight was against Gabriel Bonfim, and he lost. So both of these guys are coming off of, some losses here. And I think Randy Brown might have better striking. I think he may have him in the striking, but he's just simply not as complete. And kind of like what I've been saying with these other fights, but this is going hard on Kevin Holland here. He has like on and off performances where he either comes in looking really, really good, and it's like the Kevin Holland of old, like, oh shit, he's back. Or we get like the Kevin Holland that just like doesn't really give a fuck. He just doesn't really care, and he loses. So I want to pick Kevin Holland to win, and I hope he wins. But I'm going to go with Randy Brown on this one, just because Kevin Holland's performances aren't consistent enough to where I'm like, you know what, I feel comfortable picking him. I got to go with Randy Brown. I just think that the striking will be better. I think the takedown defense may even hold up, where Kevin Holland kind of gets frustrated a little bit. And then when he starts to lose, or when he feels like the fight's not going his way, I don't want to say he sells it, but he kind of resides in that. And, in the whole like, well, fuck it, we lost, right? We're cooked. We're done. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Randy Brown here on this one. Now, we got Patricio Pitbull versus Aaron Picco, and this is going to be a really good fight. Let's go over Patricio Pitbull, right? He's got decent grappling. He's a Bellator veteran, but his boxing is not all there. And Aaron Picco's hands are there, okay? I am one of those guys who will sit here and say Aaron Picco was doing really good against Lerone Murphy up until he got caught with that spinning, elbow that knocked him out. I mean, Aaron Picco was pressing him up against the fence, laying in some really good bodywork and combinations, and he was low-key landing into Murphy. He's got clean boxing. He has fast hands. Aaron Picco's also a really good wrestler. I mean, that's like his base. That's where he started off, But is his chin really going to hold up, especially after that really devastating knockout that he had to Lerone Murphy, right? I got to go with Aaron Picco, though. I really want him to win. I think his hands are faster. I think his boxing's better. And the grappling, in my opinion, is equal. You know what I mean? I mean, Patricio Pitbull's prime, most of that was in Bellator. He didn't get over to the UFC until he was 37. I know you could probably say the exact same thing about Aaron Picco, but Aaron Picco is a little bit younger. He's got a little bit more stock, and that's just the way the cookie is going to crumble here on this one. So I got to go with Aaron Picco. Next, we got Cub Swanson versus Nate Landwehr. This is going to be the start of the main card. All right, so first, let's go over Nate Landwehr. This guy's got knocked out in his last 2 fights. He got knocked out last time against Morgan Scherer, and then beforehand, he got knocked out against Duho Choi. Now, Nate Landwehr, what he always does is he puts on bangers. Okay, that's what he always is known for. He's a veteran. He'll go in there. He's a do-or-die kind of guy, but he's a little bit over the hill. I think you could say the exact same thing for Cub Swanson. Even though his last win was against Billy Quarantillo in his last fight, he did say that he's going to retire this card. So this is going to be his last fight. I think that Cub Swanson has just a deeper bag. He has a deeper arsenal. And I think he is more complete when it comes to the grappling. I mean, he's been around since the WEC days, which if you know what WEC is, man, that's pretty old. That's like when I was a little fucking jit. Like when I was a little kid, when I first got into MMA, like I was a little Jill Yang when I was watching that shit. So I got to be real. I got to go with Cub Swanson. I think he's going to win, especially because Nate's been getting chinned his last 2 fights, and he's just not as complete. He doesn't have as deep of an arsenal, just not as deep of a bag. And, I got to go with Cub Swanson here on this one. I really want him to pick up the win. All right, next fight here, we got Johnny Walker versus Dominick Reyes. And I'm not going to lie, this fight is going to be really interesting to see. Let's go over Johnny Walker. In his last 2 fights, he got knocked out against Volkan Ozdemir, But then he came back and he actually beat a pretty big hype train and a prospect of Zhang Mingyang. And he actually TKO'd him with leg kicks. So that was kind of crazy. You know, threw a leg kick, Zhang checked it, got hurt, fell back. And that was all she wrote. Dominick Reyes, in his past, 4 fights, he's 3-1. It's actually not bad at all. He knocked out Dustin Jacoby in the first round. He finished Anthony Smith, which that one might be a little free. But then he came back and he knocked out Nikita Krylov in the first round. Obviously, he met his match and he got knocked out cold against Carlos Ulberg, who's in this main event. I'm not going to lie. This is like a light heavyweight card here. This is like essentially like a light heavyweight tournament here. And this is pretty fire. Dominick Reyes is very experienced, okay? He is fought and challenged for the title. He's been in there with some of the best guys. And even though he may not have won, he's fought at a higher level than Johnny Walker, okay? Johnny Walker, though, he is the longer guy. He's longer, he's taller, and I think he's bigger, and he has a bigger arsenal, okay? He's got, like, spinning kicks, fucking flying kicks, all kinds of striking and unorthodox angles. Both guys are chinny, though, and that's kind of I don't know who you would bet on in terms of who would get absolutely fucking KO'd cold first in a general fight, but I got to go with Johnny Walker on this one. I really trust and believe in his chin. He actually looked really good against Zhang Mingyang, who was known for his power, who was known to being a finisher at that time. Carlos Ulberg, obviously, he's the number 1 contender, and he knocked out Dominick Reyes with a 1-2, and that was it. That was all it took, was a 1-2, and that was like really the only major offense he threw. So I got to go with Johnny Walker on this one. And next fight, man, we got Josh Hokit versus Curtis Blaydes. All right, let's go over Josh Hokit, man. His last fight was on the Paramount card, and he TKO'd Denzel Freeman with a middle finger. That was pretty fucking crazy. And I'm not going to lie, Josh Hokit, he has really good volume for him being a heavyweight. Even though he's around 234, 235, that volume is what he's going to need against a guy like Curtis Blaydes, okay? He's better volume. He's a better talker. He can sell fights better. But there's a major experience gap where Curtis Blaydes, he's a far better wrestler and is way more experienced when it comes to being in the heavyweight division. Like, this man's been in the top 5 to top 7 for almost 10 years at this point. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, he was still making his way through up there. And then right around 2019, 2020, he's just really made himself a comfortable spot as being a gatekeeper and potentially even a contender. If he's like 2 wins away from a title shot, then I would like to see that happen. I don't really like Josh Hokit too much, just as a fan of the sport. I feel like he just kind of mimics people's voice lines too much. I mean, he was like fucking with Jiri and Ulberg and everybody in the back at the press conference and in the weigh-ins, and it was super fucking bizarre. It was just like really, really bizarre to see. I really hope Curtis Blaydes gets the win because I think that he's just way more experienced. He beat Rizvan Kuniev in his last fight, and I think that the experience gap, the competition gap, that's going to matter. But if Josh Hokit makes his way into the top 5, that's great for the division because we have new blood, we have new guys, and he has a personality whether we like it or not. But I just think the experience gap will be too much, especially considering how late he got into the sport. And yeah, that's my prediction. I think that Curtis Blaydes is going to win. All right, next. For the co-main event, we got Paulo Costa versus Azamat Murzakanov. This fight is going to be a fucking banger, okay? In my opinion, I think this fight's going to be either really, really good or really, really bad. Paulo Costa, right, past 2 fights, went up against, Roman Kopylov, right, and then he also went up against, like, Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, and Paulo Costa, I'm not going to lie too, he misses weight as well. That's kind of something he's known for, and he pulls out a fuck ton, I think he's going to come in with the lighter man skill in this case because, Azamat Murzakanov, he's fought guys who have really, for the most part, been bigger than him. His last fight, Azamat, it was against Alexander Rakic, where he knocked him out, really a TKO. And I think Rakic is going to go up to heavyweight anyways at some point. He's just a little too chinny at 205. Yeah, I mean, Azamat Murzakanov, he is the better finisher in this case, right? He's 16-0. He's undefeated. He's known for just coming up and finishing guys exactly like he did with Alexander Rakic. Where Paulo Costa, on the other hand, he has this championship level experience. He's fought guys like Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, right? Sean Strickland. He's fought the absolute best of like the era that we have right now with middleweights. I'm going to go with Azamat Murzakanov here. This is going to be interesting though, because now there's like this epidemic of like middleweights going over to the, light heavyweight division. And that's going to be super interesting to see because, I hear like Robert Whittaker is going up now and, I don't know. I just think that even though it's going to be a good fight and Paulo Costa is going to come in with the lighter man skill, I just don't think he's going to throw as much as Azamat is, and I don't think that's going to have the same reaction. I think he might be able to put away Costa. Who knows? Alrighty. So we got for the main event, we got Jiri Prochazka versus Carlos Ulberg, man. This fight, in my opinion, is going to be fucking cinema, people. All right, so Carlos Ulberg, let's go over him, right? The Black Jag, you know, very, very powerful. He's got some power in his hands, and a lot of people wanted to say he's like kind of boring. That's because he got knocked out by Kennedy and Chukwu. Before that, he was aggressive as fuck, and even then, he's still getting finishes today. You know, his last fight was against Dominick Reyes, where he knocked his ass out with a 1-2. Like, you know, I just talked about that earlier. And, you know, and he's super technical. He's more technical than Jiri. He's more of an orthodox approach than Jiri. And I think that's either going to do really, really good, or it's going to go really, really fucking bad. And on top of that, there's a massive experience gap that is between Carlos Ulberg and Jiri Prochazka. The competition that Ulberg has fought is nowhere near on the same tier as Jiri, and I kind of hate to say that, but it is true. Jiri's fought guys like Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira, Khalil Roundtree, right? Fucking like Jamal Hill. Like, these are all guys who've either been champions or been contenders for the champion or been in the top 5. Dominick Reyes, I'm not going to lie, brother. Like, Carlos Ulberg fought him after this man got chinned like 4 times, okay? So, I mean, yeah, you knocked out Dominick Reyes. Like, that's great. But, like, all these other guys did too. So, I don't know. And on top of that, the cardio is going to be another thing where Jiri Prochazka puts on this pace that is very, very, it's like a fucking tornado, dude. He's coming right at you with everything he has. He will not stop. He will keep going, and he will keep pushing the pace. We literally saw that in Jiri's last fight against Khalil Roundtree, where Khalil Roundtree was up 2-0, and Jiri just kept pushing the pace, landing these body shots, landing these jabs. That, you know, started getting in there, and he was landing. And this is a 5-round fight. This isn't a 3-rounder. This is 5 rounds. And Jiri Prochazka, you know, let's move on to him because that's a perfect transition, is this controlled chaos that he brings to a fight where MMA is a competition, right? It's a sport, right? At the end of the day, Jiri makes it like a fight for survival, brother. Okay. Like, you know, unless your name is Alex Pereira, right? You have not beaten Jiri Prochazka. Alex Pereira is the only guy to beat Jiri 2 times, right? And the second time was way more definitive than the first. Couple things that Jiri needs to watch out for, right? His defense and his movement, okay? His head movement and his hands, you know, coming up, that has gotten better. That has improved, especially his head movement. His fight against Jamal Hill, where he was just putting the fucking beating on him, moving around, knocking him down with a massive right hand. The crowd was going crazy, you know, but his movement in his last fight against Khalil Roundtree, it looked like it took Jiri quite a while to kind of get off and get started. You know what I mean? Because it didn't take till really round 3 till Jiri found his pace and found the shots for him to start landing, and he won. But it easily could have went wrong. Like, Roundtree could have easily coasted it out, survived, and he could have stolen that fight. And on top of that, Jiri Prochazka, this is his 4th title shot, I believe, you know, because he had 1 against Glover, which he won. Then he had 2 against Alex Pereira, and now he's having this one against Carlos Ulberg. So this is like a must fucking win situation for Jiri. Carlos can lose, and he can fight someone else, and he can come back. Where Jiri, I don't know what the fuck his future would be in this division if he does lose this fight. He has to win this. He has to. There's just no choice for him. I'm going to go with Jiri Prochazka. I just believe that Jiri Prochazka, he's the better fighter. He's just way higher fucking caliber of talent, of experience, of weapons, of mentality, everything. And you know what? And Jiri is the kind of guy, he will either live by the sword or die by the sword. And I don't know if Ulberg is going to get past it. Ulberg has power, but Jiri's fought guys with power. Like I said, he's fought guys like Alex. He's fought guys like fucking Roundtree. He's fought guys who can hit, who can really fucking crack, who can, you know, he's fought Volkan Ozdemir off his debut, and he knocked him out, which back at that time, Volkan Ozdemir was widely considered to be one of the hardest hitting light heavyweights in that time period. So I got to go with Jiri Prochazka, dude. I really think he's going to win this. I want him to win so fucking bad. So yeah, guys, that is going to be my final predictions for essentially the full card of UFC 327. And I'm not going to lie, this fucking card is stacked. This is really, really good. I highly encourage you guys to go watch it. Go check it out, especially because it's on Paramount. So like, you don't really need to go on like streaming sites anymore. I guess unless you don't have Paramount. So, yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below your predictions for this card, for these fights. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.